Hi, Susanna. I'm here introducing you. Hello.
Hello.
So, I just telling the audience that, well, you're a global visionary in employer branding, and your magnetic
Yes,
employer branding method has been recognized as a game changer in employer branding. So, quite impressive. So, yeah, Susanna, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Can you share a sneak peek into how employer branding plays a crucial role in shaping inclusive futures in tech?
absolutely. Thank you. And hello, everyone. Empower Her, shaping inclusive futures in tech through employer branding. Now, as a white, middle-aged, middle-class woman from the Nordics, I'm completely humbled to admit that I am probably very biased, very narrow-minded, and very unexperienced in the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusivity because of my roots and my background, my history, where I come from. And I have been in the work life now for over 20 years, and I can say that during my career in HR and employer branding, things have changed across the world quite significantly. And as an employer today, I feel that I'm also responsible for opening my own mind to diversity, equity, inclusivity in the workplace, and reflect my own thoughts and biases in this evolving world. And I think that we can together make a huge difference if we all understand that there's a lot for us to reflect and understand how we can shape more inclusive futures for our workplaces. My name is Susanna Rantanen, as I was introduced, and one of the top employer branding experts and influencers in the world. I've poured my heart and soul into creating this modern employer branding method. Come from Finland, a wife, a mother, and an introvert. So that has also been something that has shaped my experiences as an employer, as an HR person, as a talent acquisition person, employer branding person. I'm here to share my thought of how you can combine the work of DEI and employer branding. And I was very fortunate to actually record a podcast episode yesterday with Finland's first DEI consultant and expert. So she kind of prepped me also into this topic because she knows a lot more about diversity, equity, and inclusion than I think anyone in Finland. The key takeaways I want to share with you today are that inclusiveness is a business necessity. It's not just a moral imperative. Also, becoming an inclusive workplace is actually a transformation process of the company culture, the way you do things, the way what you value, what are your beliefs, how you approach others, and what are those spoken and unspoken rules at the workplace. And building the magnetic employer brand holds your organization accountable for inclusiveness. Now, there are 7 reasons why inclusiveness is a business necessity. If you are working in, or as you are working in tech, depending on your angle to inclusivity, it depends how you approach the topic and what is your perspective, what's your priority when it comes to inclusivity. And if you are working as an employee, the perspective is very different if you are a male colleague of yours in the tech industry or somebody who's working in the top management. That's why, depending on your role, your position, your background, your nationality, your education, the society that you come from, where you were raised at, and all the unconscious biases, which are, I think humans have about 175 unconscious biases, all of us. We all look at diversity in a very different ways. And that's why it makes the whole topic of developing more inclusive workplaces very complex. The most important step is building more inclusive workplaces is to get the top management buy-in. Without it, it's impossible to make that transformation in the deep culture and the values of the organization. And like you and I, those people in the management are also humans. They've got their different roots, their backgrounds, their histories or her stories, their different perspectives and personal experiences on these three important topics. And that's why we need to educate each other more in ways that we can all understand better about the different perceptions and perspectives. Now, it's safe to assume that if one has made their way up to the top management in the organization, they have also been privileged and probably experienced and enjoyed versatile, uninclusive benefits throughout their career. And that may make it more difficult for them to see this topic from your eyes and from your view. And it doesn't make them bad people, at least not automatically, but it's important that we understand that in their position, they may not feel about inclusiveness the same way as you and I do. And that's why getting their buy-in requires other reasoning than moral. For example, these 7 reasons. Now, if we're looking at these, obviously, diverse teams are known to be more creative, more innovative. They're better at solving complex problems at work and in customer cases, customer projects, and they can be much more effective in identifying and addressing the needs of also diverse audiences in the customer base. And this actually may be the key selling point to the top management for your business, because obviously your top management wants to know how to be able to sell better and more for the customers. And by embracing diversity, we can also, as employers, tap into much wider talent pools, because we are not looking at just like a limited portion of available talent that there are out there. We also know that workplaces that are more diverse and inclusive have higher job satisfaction, higher employee satisfaction, which can lead to lower turnovers and better talent retention, which today is also, I would say, an equally big challenge for organizations in technology than talent attraction. Something that is very, very valuable for your top management to know is obviously the impact of inclusiveness to the bottom line and the financial performance of the organization. So studies have shown a clear correlation between gender diversity and financial performance. Companies with a lot more diverse leadership teams often experience higher productivity and innovation. Market representation is another important thing. Women today represent more than a half of the consumer base. So having a workforce that reflects better the wider audience in our customer base is obviously more able to create better solutions for those diverse customer challenges. Corporate reputation, companies that prioritize diversity are seen more trustworthy and more to have a better reputation today, because also our client audiences and the end consumer, end user audiences are also very diverse. So it creates a better trust towards let's say, a software technology organization when they can see that the service provider is also diverse. And of course, then in many countries, we already have various regulatory compliance in place, laws that have been enforced to us, making it necessary for us to obviously be more inclusive. And it would be a huge threat for the business if these laws were not followed. Becoming an inclusive workplace is a transformation process of your company culture, the way you do things. How different organizations approach DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, this varies worldwide. And from an employer brand standpoint, seeing it as a culture change process in the organization can make the development process more concrete, more transparent, more visible, and also more tangible, because it starts with the assessment of your current ways of work. So we're talking about processes, procedures, recruitment criteria, recruitment marketing, job posts. We're talking about promotion and rewarding criteria and processes, and so on. And tapping on these first and assessing how inclusive they are makes this process much more tangible and transparent. So in 2017, when I first introduced the magnetic employer branding method, I also brought on this concept of a strategic company culture. This is one of the fundamental elements of the entire method, and that's it makes it one of the elements that also makes this employer branding method unique. And it's the concept of the strategic company culture. So oftentimes when organizations start developing their culture, they kind of get the employees together, they have workshops, and the general question is, how do we make this a more fun place to work? And oftentimes that leads into the creative process of thinking like, okay, what would be fun? What would make it more fun? And the end results are, oh, let's bring the dog or the pets to the office, or let's do an office a decoration project, or get this really fancy coffee machine or whatever. Very superficial things, because they make the workplace, the concrete physical workplace, more fun. But the benefits culture doesn't connect with your business nor your development efforts for inclusivity. You have to look at it as this from the perspective of the strategic culture point of view. The way that we do work here, what are our spoken and unspoken methods and means and processes and procedures and roles and responsibilities and decision-making hierarchies and so on that comes to delivering the customer promise. And how do our employees feel about those? So that's at the core of the strategic culture. It looks at your business strategy. What kind of organizational behavior is required so that you can successfully engage, commit your employees in delivering those strategic business goals and that customer promise. So I think tapping and connecting your development process for inclusivity is matches very well with this idea, because you can see that whatever we do needs to impact, for example, those 7 reasons, and enable our people to feel that they are part of this entire purpose of what we do here. To make it a connection more clear here, so the strategic company culture is about the organizational performance and leadership. How are we expected to perform as an organization in order to deliver those business goals? So this is about the strategies, the KPIs, the goals, how we organize our business into divisions, who is a leader and where, who manages and what, and how do we lead our people. And then the employee experiences are, how does it make me feel as an employee, and my abilities to perform here as an employee the way that this company is structured to perform and lead. These all impact, obviously, also the employee motivation. So if we're not feeling inclusive and empowered to and have the equity and the opportunity to participate to our fullest sense, if we're declined in that sense, then obviously that impacts our morale and our motivation. It's also about the company's mission and vision and values and the purpose of the business. Why does this company have the right to exist on this planet? And how does that directly inspire and impact our employees in terms of giving them purpose, giving them meaning, and giving them the opportunity to do their best in this organization? It's also about, I said, the way we do things here. So those are the unspoken and the spoken rules and sort of regulations, how we work here, what we believe in as we execute our business strategy and deliver that customer promise. And how does that impact the way that our employees are feeling about it? How do they commit emotionally to this? Do they agree to it? Does it make them do that or give that extra mile when it comes to delivering in their own roles? And then it offers the organization a source for competitive advantage. And also, when it does that, it also impacts the employees, giving them a competitive advantage for their career and for their professional status, because companies who have that competitive advantage are obviously more successful. Their customers are more committed to them, more satisfied, and they have a lot of they have a great reputation that impacts them positively. When we focus on the inclusive employee experiences and make it a transformation process, when that transformation process starts, it kicks on what I call kind of this like a wheel of deliverables. So what it means is that as you invite more and more diverse perspectives into developing your strategic company culture and the way you do things, how inclusive you are, and how you approach diversity and equity, this improves employee engagement. You open the doors, you welcome the people, they are willing and they're wanting to engage and contribute to this. This then cultivates a more attractive employer brand and workplace, which then enhances employee retention and commitment, which then impacts customer satisfaction, innovation, creativeness, sales, and the bottom line. So it is the wheel of deliverables that starts with inviting those diverse perspectives and making the workplace more inclusive for sharing those. The magnetic employer branding method makes talents the heroes of your employer brand story. And this vital role reversal is a game changer for talent attraction and retention, forcing employers to maintain what I call the product behind the employer brand competitive. What makes this method so special is this role reversal. Talents, whether they are your existing employees or your future employees, they are at the pedestal of your employer branding work, and that keeping that product behind the employer brand competitive. And with your strategic company culture and the emotional connection of your people, you have these unique stories to tell that actually help them to build your employer brand. Those stories are about the business, about the mission, about the purpose, about the values, about the customer promise, about your products and services, but from the employee experience point of view. And it's easier for employees to contribute to giving their voice and putting their voice out and advocating your organization when they understand that they are able to share those experiences about those specific topics that are part of your culture, they understand what they mean, they are familiar with those, and they understand that connection between strategy and their own contribution. And your employer brand becomes more magnetic to those people that feel strongly about your strategic culture and the way you do the work and deliver that customer promise. And they become more connected and involved, and eventually, obviously, select you as their preferred place to work. And that's something that your competition cannot trump, because your stories, put that way, stemming from your strategic culture and your employee experiences, are 100% unique to you and your organization only. Building the magnetic employer brand, well, that holds your organization accountable for inclusiveness or any other people-related goals that you have in your culture. What this means is that when you start with the talent is the hero role reversal, and you think about how you build your brand from the talent angle, obviously when you build your company more inclusive, then your people understand that this is a very special angle to you, and they want to talk about their experiences of inclusiveness, which then attracts obviously more diverse people to your organization and makes people feel more good about the fact that you are providing them with an inclusive and more diverse workplace. Your role in this all is to take this kind of a position of a trusted, what I call a work to life guide and a mentor. Purposefully call it work to life because we haven't had those times here for decades anymore where people are considering work as a separate aspect from their life. Everything impacts the other. If you're happy at work, you are happy at also outside the work. If you're unhappy at outside the work, you're also unhappy easily at work. If there are events in your work that impact the way that you can live a better life at home, obviously, then that impacts your employee satisfaction. So the position in a way that this is what we want to provide, a better life for our employees, and we want to guide and mentor them in how they can achieve that. That's what the employer impulse and position is in this method. All of your employer brand messaging is based on these unique what we call key story themes for the desired impact. So if you want to make your audiences internally and externally more known about your work towards a more inclusive workplace, then your employer branding messages are about that. What's your perspective of that? What are you doing? What you can share with others, documenting that story of or that journey of developing a more diverse workplace, and then sharing those employee experiences about them. And when you make this process regular, it means that you keep inviting those audiences who resonate with your message on this candidate journey with your organization. And this becomes what I call a communication process instead of a campaign. And it starts to grow the awareness and the affinity towards your organization as a place to work, as a more inclusive place to work, sharing those stories from within. But this goes beyond marketing. And the reason why it holds your organization accountable, for example, that inclusiveness, is that when everything is based on business storytelling, your authentic employee experiences, if your employees are not experiencing a development in inclusivity, then they don't have anything positive to share about inclusivity, when it means that you actually don't have any material to communicate about. So it kind of holds you accountable. If we want to become known as a more inclusive workplace, we also have to develop that employee experience internally and make sure that our employees are willing to share those positive experiences about inclusivity. Emotional brand connections are built on mutual values and grounds. This means that the more you talk about inclusivity and diversity and equity as an employer, this starts to build this mutual ground for also audiences externally, and not just talent audiences, but as said, your customer audiences and their end user audiences are also made of diverse people, meaning that they start to connect more with your organization. And if your top management wants to maintain this competitive business advantage, it requires that they provide you the adequate resources in keeping this product of employee experiences and your culture obviously competitive on the background. When you start developing this magnetic workplace, it starts with managing employee experiences and expectations. So it literally starts with an assessment period of evaluating, assessing with your people where you have those loopholes, keyholes, loopholes, and sort of untackled areas where people are not feeling that are that inclusive or inclusive at all. That's where you start. But at the same time, you have to work towards getting the stakeholder and the top management buy-in. It also continues with managing candidate experiences and expectations in an equally inclusive manner. So you have to think about and tap into your recruitment processes, your interview processes, your how you communicate about your workplace and the job, your job titles, and so on. And then, as said, it requires maintaining the competitiveness of the product. There is nothing you will quickly lose the excitement and the commitment of your employees if they feel that this development isn't going forward. Nothing is changing. So that's a very important area to also collaborate in the organization. And this all gives you lots of communication material for you to share internally and externally, growing that important employer awareness and brand affinity about your organization on this journey of becoming more inclusive. Thank you. So if this is something that interests you, I'm really happy to connect with you on social media. You can find me on most social media with the same handle, Rantanen Susanna. And also I talk about building the modern employer brand, the magnetic employer brand, on my weekly podcast. So if you've not subscribed to it yet, you can find it on all popular platforms on YouTube and also on the modernemployerbrand.com website. All right.
A big thank you, Susanna, for sharing your expertise with us today. Let's open the floor for one question we have here for you. So the question is, could you share an example of a company that successfully transformed its employer brand to create a more inclusive environment, particularly for women in tech?
Yes. So the person that I interviewed yesterday is actually the person who made that happen very successfully in Finland. This company is called Futurize. It's a software engineering company. Well, more, I would say more today because it's expanded in Finland and in Europe quite significantly. But anyway, a tech employer. And they started several years ago a very, how would I say, a very thorough work in becoming more diverse and more inclusive as a workplace. And this was led by Heidi Beck, who will be on the podcast next week. So tune in next week to hear more about her thoughts about it. But they definitely went on into starting with a thorough assessment and getting as diverse people in it as possible in order to understand and cover angles. But I think that the key message from them is that when you're not that inclusive yet, you need to understand this a transformation process that you need to iterate over time. And the more diverse members, employees you get in your staff, the more you have to kind of roll those elements again through them and make sure that you do that you can see those angles that you may not have seen before. So I would say that that's probably a really good example. And luckily for you, she'll be on my podcast next week.
We will. One more time, Susanna, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. We have got lots of
Thank
insights
you.
from your talk. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.